And welcome to the Everyday Board Game Podcast with Daniel.
And Daniel.
I don't know why I went into deep voice there for a bit. I really want to bring out that radio.
You wanted to sound more manly.
Well, welcome to the... No, I'm not even going to try. When I was in high school, I was in the baritone section in choir. Because I was one of the few people who could hit like the pretty low that the bass could go, but I could also hit high like a tenor. I had a good range from what I heard. That was the only compliment I got through high school. I have good range.
Like I know any of that. I played sports, alright?
That's right. You were one of them popular sports ball people until I converted you many years ago. And now you're one of us. One of us.
Oh, I've always been a nerd. I just played sports.
But now you're more open about it.
I read comics on our away buses. I mean, come on.
Come on. Comics are like the cool thing now. You know that.
Not when I was going to high school.
That's true. Not when you were... Yeah, but you weren't beat up for reading comics, right? Granted, because you were probably, like, not the kind of guy you'd beat up. Or could. Anyway, we haven't even done our intro yet. Welcome to the Everyday Board Game Podcast. As always, I'm Danny.
I'm Daniel.
And so we're going to jump into this. We're going to do another one of our double episodes coming up right now. We're streaming live. We're ready to do this. I'm having fun. I've sat in front of a computer all day, so I wanted to take a break and sit in front of the computer for the rest of the day. So Daniel, how have you been?
I've been doing pretty good. My week is just consisting getting the podcast up and running again.
Mm-hmm.
We are going to address some stuff about the previous podcast. Before we get into that, how's your week been?
Oh, it's been good. I just started a new job, so it has been rather chaotic, but that has not stopped me from my year-long goals, which we're going to be telling you about very soon.
And just to make mention, we mentioned the fact that he started a new job. It's the same new job. He didn't start another new job.
Right.
It's just that he got out of the training, and now he's in the permanent.
Yeah, I'm out of training, which technically that training ended up lasting about a month and a half. Don't ask why. And I'm still technically in 10 more weeks of training. This is now week 2 of 10. It's that kind of job.
Yeah, no, I get it. But yeah, so just wanted to clarify. It's
Right.
the same job we talked about last week. However, it's now into the full part of the work rather than the training aspect of it.
Yeah, so I'm actually doing the work. So that's fun. We're going to be talking about our New Year's resolutions as we first decided, and then we realized, hey, it's February. We're a little late on the game here. So we're going to call this our year goals.
Yes.
Yeah.
And before we get into it and what we've been playing lately, I do want to address what I was talking about the previous podcast. There was some audio issues. I understand if you're commenting on our podcast itself or on the YouTube videos. That was due to the wrong mic being picked up by the computers because for some reason it decided to change mics on me. So that should be resolved. I checked it and everything seems to be working fine. And as I was unaware at the time of recording, apparently my number one choice of Dream Team designers actually worked together before. Recently.
Wait, hold on. What was your number one again?
Lang and Davio.
Lang and Davio worked together recently. Okay. So tell
Yes,
us what you
and I
discovered,
actually
because I didn't know about this.
Well, I actually played the game. See, I should have done better research on it. But what happens is, apparently, I literally found out 2 days after we recorded it that Lang and Davio worked together on Cthulhu Death May Die.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I thought that was just an Eric Lang game, but no, apparently him and Rob Davio worked together on that one. So that was my bad. I should have done better research, but hey, it was
Dream
my number
come
one
true.
for a reason, and that was a fun game to play.
So you've played it then?
Yeah.
Did it feel like it was a Lang and a Davio game put together?
No, like I said, it just felt like a Lang game with story scenarios.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, because it was a dudes on the map, basically. You had a lot of minis coming at you, and there was a lot going on. Didn't really feel campaignish, mind you. I only played one game of it, and there probably is more story involved. But I only played I think it was the first scenario, one time at the shop when we still could go to the shop. So that's why I didn't think of it.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I don't blame you for that, but that's awesome to hear that that happened.
Yeah,
Now,
so do want to address that.
yeah,
Make sure that was let people know
yeah,
before they bring out the pitchforks and the torches and say we don't
right,
know nothing.
and that's not to say that the designers that we picked haven't worked together. We just think that they would work really well together. So I
Yeah,
mean, there could be like a weird obscure game that like they had made together that even anywhere on my list. Who knows? I don't know. Do you
yeah.
know? Who knows? We'll
We could
never
have done
know.
better research, but
Yeah,
that was our first podcast back from the break, and so
yeah.
yeah.
You have. I mean, you had all that time to do research. You have an excuse not to have done it.
I didn't even know we were coming back then. You just texted me, "Hey, you want to do this?"
Yeah, let's do the podcast. Let's just get it done. Yeah, no, pretty much. But that's fine. That's fine. I think it's fun either way. So let's go
Yes.
into this next one. Let's talk about this week. Daniel, what have you been playing lately?
So again, I kept myself to 4 games because I can play a lot of games. I do want to make mention that we've gotten a lot further along in Gloomhaven, Jaws of the Lion. I don't want to go more into that because I talked about it so many times or so much on the last podcast. So other games I've played, I played the Unmatched,
Hmm.
which I think is one of the best skirmisher games out there. Especially with everything that they have, it's the same along the lines of Funko, and we may make this a discussion topic about those two. But
May
there's so
will
yeah, we're going to.
will.
But there's so much out there with this thing, so you can get one of the big boxes and be fine. Get 2 of the big boxes, you can be fine. There's
Hmm.
3 big boxes. I'm trying to think. Yeah, there's 3 big boxes. The 2-player combo packs, and now with the most recent talks about Marvel coming in, or shown that coming in, there's about 4 I think that are coming out this year that are 3 packs with Marvel characters. So there's a lot out there. So you can start wherever you want. I personally recommend Cobble and Fog, but there's a lot of good choices, a lot of different abilities. I do have to say though, Bruce Lee to me is a bit unbalanced for the rest of the game. Yeah, he doesn't have an ally. But he just does so much combos where he's like, "Hey, I'm gonna punch you, and then I'm gonna move away. But if I use this card, I get an extra action rather than the normal actions." And he's just sitting there, pinging everybody and running away. And it's just like I thrashed King Arthur just because I kept hitting him and then running away.
Yeah, that makes sense. I don't blame you. I who did I play last time I played it? Sherlock Holmes and Watson. Yeah, and I pounded the other player. Like just beat him down, and it was his copy of the game. So I didn't feel bad about it.
No, I do really, really enjoy this game. I have a great time with it. I'm looking forward to the Marvel because I'm a huge Marvel fan. So, and the thing about the Marvel one that I'm looking forward to
Hmm.
is that they're different. Yeah, you have some famous ones like Black Panther and Black Widow, I think, is in it as well, and Winter Soldier, but they're only famous because of what is it, the movies. They weren't famous beforehand.
Gotcha. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I mean the Marvel universe is like that's kind of the reason it's the thing now is
Hmm.
because of the movie. That's why it's called the
Yeah,
Marvel Cinematic Universe.
but a lot of the packs they're not the more famous ones. I mean, you got Cloak and Dagger, which was a TV show, but it was on what is that channel called now? Freeform or whatever ABC Family is called now.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I have no
So,
idea.
all right. What about your first game?
All right. So the most recent game I've been playing is a game that I picked up at one of those like overstock stores. You know, like where
Yeah.
they just don't sell in the big stores. And this is just a simple dexterity game called House of Boing. And it sounds weird. So imagine like a black box basically with windows on each of the 4 sides. Okay. The windows have a big hole cut in them, and the top of it is a funnel that's going down. And in the center of this House of Boing is a pyramid. And so the idea is you have ping pong balls and you have a tray on your side, and you're bouncing them off the table either in through the hole or into the pyramid or into the top funnel to drop down and then potentially go into the other player's sides first one to get rid of all their ping pong balls wins. I mean, it's a simple dexterity game, but because the components are both a good and a bad thing to it. Let me explain. The box itself is actually pretty sturdy. It looks really nice, and the box that it came in is not exactly big,
Hmm.
but it's a bear to kind of take apart, and I don't want to keep taking it apart, dismantling it, and building it again, and putting it in and out of the box. So I just left it on my table. And so every once in a while, I'll hear ping pong balls bouncing around as my kids just like walk by and like, this is just a fun little pink, and enjoying it. It's super fun. It's a really simple game. It doesn't outstay its welcome because everybody's just tossing the balls in all at once. It's just absolute chaos. Imagine, if you will, like if you go to like an arcade, the basketball shot game.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, imagine like all four players doing that at once. That's the kind of game this is. It's really ridiculous. It's fun
Oh
though.
man, that sounds like chaos.
Oh
Should be
yeah,
fun.
yeah. It's genuine fun. But that's the one I've been playing lately. I think it goes under a different name, but it's called House of Boing. Is the one I have.
Interesting.
Yeah,
I never even heard of that.
neither had I.
So the the next game on my list is not one I've talked about playing a lot and owning, but it's something we have talked about. I actually mentioned it in the last podcast, the creator of it,
Yeah,
Emerson Matsuchi. It's Century Golem Edition. I finally got my wife to play it. That's the main reason. And I got to show her how it worked and what it was doing. And she even admits this killed Splendor for her. She didn't like Splendor to begin with. And she would rather play this over Splendor any day of the week. Just because how simple. Her gripe about it is that it felt like it went too fast.
too fat. That there's few games that do that.
Yeah, so I believe it's a very nice small engine builder that we've talked about before.
Mhm.
I personally like this edition more, and this is the one I own. I got Eastern Mountains coming in sometime soon, but I like it more because it's more colorful for Spice Road to an extent. That I like the artwork better. It's a little bit brighter than Spice Road, and the big part of it is I can see the gems more than I can see those cubes because of my color blindness. The spices
Right.
in Spice Road, it's hard to see, especially when you're doing the upgrading, because like the browns and the greens and the reds, it's just difficult. With the gems, I find it much easier to see.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, so the cubes aren't too bad on my end, but I eventually when they make upgraded bits, I'm gonna get them. I
Yeah, I don't blame you.
I make an assumption that they will. They probably will.
Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised. It's such a popular game that
Yeah.
I'm surprised people haven't made it yet.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So
I think the
that's a
big
good
part of it,
pick.
why they haven't done it, is because the Gollum edition is prettier, so they assume everybody has that one.
Right. Well, I mean, honestly, like you always make it sound like the art in it is just garbage, and it's really actually pretty art. It's just boring
No,
art.
the art is nice. I'm talking about like all the other stuff, not
Yeah.
just the art. I'm talking about the colorfulness of Gollum.
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense.
Spice Road looks like a bland Euro that you would get from uh, back in the early 2000s or
Yeah.
something like that.
It does.
Color wise, the color palette of it. It's like an Alea game, honestly.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. But I hate the cups that come in the Golem edition because you can't
I
reach in. They're not curved like the bowls in the Century Spice Road version. And then
Yeah, no.
if you want to lay them out, it's different shaped, and that's just I don't know. Like, do you put them alternating to where they kind of go like this, or do you keep them in the circle? I don't know. There's something about it that I
like
just
I said,
don't
I
like
get
it.
people's gripe about it. Some people don't like the fantastical of it,
Sure.
and they prefer the real world style that is Spice Road. But for me, it's the one I prefer. It's more
Yeah.
colorful. It's easier to see for me, and so therefore I go for that one
Yeah.
rather than Century Spice Road in their collection.
Cool. My next one, I don't know if I talked about this one last week, but I played this. It's called Twin It. And
Mm.
I don't think. Okay. So BoardGameGeek.com in their store actually sells this game, and it's called Twin It. And I guess it was made a few years ago, but now they made a board game version of it, where it's very simple. If you played Spot It, it's a similar concept, where you're trying to match two different pictures that are the same. However, each of your cards are like these little square cards. You flip it face up, and
Mm-hmm.
if there's a match, then you point at both of the cards and take that as a set. First one to get 5 sets wins. However, there's a couple twists on this. First off, every card is double-sided, and there are multiple copies of each picture. The version I have, the board game version of it, like it might have like the gear in the middle of Zolkin, for example, or like the the penguins from Ice Cool, or it might have, just like a Parcheesi board or like Jenga tower, all these different things, and you're still trying to match it, but you flip the card upside down, and every card that's
Okay.
visible is in play, meaning the card that you just flipped face up is in play. All of the cards previously played are in play. The top card of your new deck that you flipped it off of, that's now in play. And even cards that have previously been scored are in play. So if I flip over, if let's say you get the Zolkin set from earlier, and I flip over another one, and if I happen to point at both your pile and the one that's in the middle, I take the set.
Ah, okay.
And so like, and it's super silly, and they all use the same like color palette too. It's always just like a really bright green, red, yellow, and orange, I think.
Okay.
Oh no, there's blue. Yeah, but it uses the same color palette, so like you can't go by the colors. You can just go by what it looks like, and some are deceptively similar. It's so good. It's easily now my new favorite like speed matching game. It beats Spot It. It throws it out the window for me now because of how
Okay.
everything is in play. And you take like a couple cards, move it out, it cascades. You'd get another one, like another set out of nowhere. It's brilliant, absolutely wonderful. Twin it,
Nice. Sounds interesting.
yeah. I'll
You
have to
are
bring it
just
over.
coming up with some of the most random games on this list.
Oh, just you wait.
All right. So the next game on my list here that I've been playing, and mind you, this is not recent. This is from our break. I've still got a lot of games that I've actually played during the break, and this one is one of them, and that's Star Wars Outer Rim.
Okay.
I received this one for Christmas. I actually played a full game of it finally. I'm a huge Star Wars fan. You guys should notice that I was wearing a Star Wars hockey jersey last podcast. I'm always willing to try the Star Wars games, the IPs. I go to the movies when that was a thing. And so when I played this one, I'm like, oh my god, I really enjoyed it. And for a pick up and deliver that can last a while, I'd rather play this over the Firefly, the board game, because this one immerses me a little bit better in it. Because for me, Firefly is about a western in space. This one is you're bounty hunting. You're going to go capture that guy and go take it over here. Oh wait, that he's a member of that person's crew. Well, I got to go fight that person and go pick up my bounty. That's why I can get paid and get my fame and infamy and all that. So I really enjoyed it. I know some people don't like it. I know you're not a huge fan of it.
No,
But I
you
really do
you
enjoy the
keep
game.
misquoting me. I liked it. I just it just seemed kind of long for what it was. Like, yay,
Mm-hmm.
I spent an hour and now I have a point. I mean, maybe it's just because
Well,
I play so many Euro games, maybe that's why. I
yeah,
just expect
and you
points
also got
to
to think about
fall
the
out of
fact it's Fantasy
everything.
Flight. If you're going into a Fantasy Flight game,
Yeah,
you better expect to be there for 2 to 3 hours.
yeah. And
I
see,
do, I, I do need to
I
try to
didn't make
solo
the
it.
mistake. I went into it knowing I was going to be a couple hours. So I'm like, all right, let's do this, and I
Yeah.
enjoyed myself. It's when you're like, all right, I'm going to be here for 2 to 3 hours, and you're there for 4 to 5 hours. That's when it's like, make it stop.
Well, then don't play Twilight Imperium 4th Edition.
No, I know that's that long, so I'll be okay.
Well, I think the big part of it too is that it's going to be longer because it was a first time playing. Now that I know how to play it, it'll go faster. I really do enjoy it. I think it's one of the better of the Star Wars game. I like it more than Imperial Assault, and I still do need to try Rebellion.
Okay, nice, good choice. I recently got to play a game called Red Cathedral. I don't know if you've heard of this one. It's from Devere,
Nope.
and if you haven't heard of it, oh goodness, you need to look into it because it is some good Euro-y crunchiness. The way it works is rather simple. It is a big board, or I want to say big. Okay, this game is in a box the size of like a Munchkin box, right? It's
Okay.
not very big, but it is a meaty Euro game, and that's because your board is set up in a circle with 8 spaces, or not your board, the main board, and there's
Okay.
5 different colored dice. Okay, there's engine building, resource collection, area control, like it's got it all. And it all focuses around this rondel. The ultimate goal is you're trying to build a cathedral. So some cathedral cards come out. They're dealt at random for the first setup, and they're made up of cards that have either bottom levels, like middle levels, like have windows. The bottom level has doors, and the top level has like spires, or like the Russian. I don't know. They look like upside down onions. I don't know how to say it. Uh, Whatever they are. Anyway.
Upside down onions. That's a nice description.
Well, I don't know what they're called. The domes, I guess, the pointed domes, maybe. Anyway, the top of a Tetris tower. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
sure.
anyway, so you're building this cathedral, and what makes it so neat is like you have to claim on one of your turns you can claim the tower, or which piece you are building, and that means only you can build it. But the flag that you put on it to claim it, well, that's part of your resources. So the more flags you get rid of, the more resources you can hold. So that's a cool little nuance. But then on top of it, you need the resources to build the thing, and it will give you either money and victory points when it's completed. Unless you might get penalized if somebody builds a higher up piece of the tower. But they can only claim that after somebody else claimed a lower piece. So let's say Daniel claims the bottom piece, I claim the middle piece of the tower. If I build mine before his, he gets chastised and loses prestige points. Prestige points are kind of like victory points, except more. So it's interesting. Some things will give you victory points, which you'll move up the normal victory point track, and some will give you prestige points, which you jump up on these symbols that are spaced throughout the victory point track. Down at the beginning, they're worth a lot of points, but later on in the game, they're worth fewer. So it's really interesting. It's kind of like this whole catch-up mechanism in a really interesting way. But then, let's talk about the actual engine building. When you choose a tower, you get a tile that you have to spend money if you want to place it on one of your engines. If you don't, you just put it face down and it takes up one of your spots. On your player board, you have spots for all of the 5 different colors of dice. Okay? One is going to be your color. So I was the blue die, of course. But, yeah. But that means to build that engine, I get to, or it costs me $3 versus 2 coins for the other colors. So let's say I take a tile that has a green die, and I place it on my yellow die spot. That means whenever I activate the yellow die, I get the green die's benefit as well. So you get that culmination. Then the dice that are on the board, the numbers that show on there, like let's say the yellow die has a 2, that's how many spaces you move it forward on your turn, then it activates that spot. If there's also other dice there, it also activates those dice. And if you activated one of the colors of or if you moved the color that you have an engine built for, you also activate that. You see how this is going.
Yeah.
You get like this cool little combo thing going. But then on top of that, each of the 4 quadrants of the board has an extra little bonus card on it of an action you can take that are randomly set up at the beginning of the game. Oh my god, it's such a tiny package, and I'm probably only like halfway explaining it, honestly. Like that's only like a very, very quick, like, shoved into nothing. It's so smart how it works. After you move the dice, you roll all the dice in that spot, so that way the rondel, it changes how many spaces you move and how many it is. It's so brilliant. Daniel, I need to buy it and I need to show you it. You're gonna love it. I really think that. I'm surprised it's not a Stefan Feld. I'll put it that way.
It's interesting. It sounds interesting.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind trying it.
Yeah.
I've never even heard of it before.
I had only heard of it briefly. It's not very common around here. DeVere is not a super common publisher in America yet.
Yeah.
But the stuff that they come out with, it's fantastic. And now I can't wait to get a copy.
So, I just randomly found a coin from Role Player just sitting on my desk.
Okay. Well, that's a transition. So what else have you been playing? It better be Role Player.
Actually, it hasn't been Role Player.
Oh,
I think it's because I have metal coins for it. That's probably why it was probably stashed somewhere in here.
Speaking of coins, I have one ready for the next section of our podcast. So.
All right. So my last game that I've been playing that I'm going to talk about is one I have talked about before, but I need to reiterate, if you haven't tried this game, it's not expensive. You need to go out and buy it. You'll enjoy it, especially if you like quick, simple set collection games.
Okay.
And that's Archaeology New Expedition.
Yeah.
The Phil Walker Harding game. It's an amazing game. I can pull this out and play it with pretty much anybody. It's got variable setup because what just comes in that one little tiny box. And depending on which monument you want to deal with, there's different things that's going on. And it's real simple. You just try to make as many points as you possibly can by the time the deck runs out. And that's it. My wife loves this game. It's like her go-to simple card game when she just wants to, after we're playing, let's say, like 3 games of Gloomhaven Jaws of the Lion, she just needs something that just quick and easy and simple to go. This is what we do. We'll play this one. It's real simple. I like it with 2 players. I like it to the full contingents, which I think is 6.
I think so.
I think it's 6 players.
Yeah, 5 or 6.
And for such a small card game, it can hold up to 6 people. That's good. It's a quick game. I enjoy it. I can't speak more highly of it.
Cool. Very cool. And the last one I'm going to be speaking about today is called Heist 1 Mission. And there's something else on it, but it's up over here. It is also made by Rob Davio. And it's a very simple game where you are all working as a group of bank heist or bank robbers trying to get into the bank. Well, the bank is this big block electronic that's right in front of you. The face of the side of the block that's facing you is what role you are. So you might be the money man, the explosives expert. You might be, I don't know, the hacker, for example. And so what it is, you have 8 little pieces outside of it, which are anything from like a headset, a flashlight, laptop, a map. And you're all trying to use those to break into the thing. Well, what it says is it'll either tell you to get an item off on the side. So it'll say, hacker, get the flashlight. So you take the flashlight from the side, or it might say give the flashlight to the money man. So whoever has the flashlight in front of them has to give it to the money man. Or trade the headset and the laptop. So the 2 players who have that swap it around until eventually it says use blank item. So use the flashlight. Whoever is supposed to have it in front of them, first off, better have it in front of them, and secondly, has to push their button. If it's correct and you do it fast enough, then you get to take one of the dollar bills, which are anywhere from $1, $5, or $1, $3, or $5 million.
Okay.
And those are basically just victory point chips.
Yeah.
If you get through all of the dollar bills as it's going and it ramps up and gets a little faster for each level, you get $50 or $50 million, and if you make it to the end without losing, which if like you incorrectly push a button or didn't push it in time, the top of the contraption lifts up and a bunch of gold bars fall out of it. It is so satisfying. Because if you get to the end, even if you didn't get a perfect score, that's fine. As long as you survived and didn't make 3 errors, I think, it'll just... And it's such a rewarding, like, celebration of, like, plastic gold bars just shooting everywhere. I love it. It's so good, so satisfying. That's Heist.
I knew this one was going to be on your list because we had a call with a mutual friend of ours discussing other things. It wasn't even just the podcast. We were discussing other stuff. And you mentioned that playing this one, you're like, I recommend it for both of you to try. It's satisfying and that. So I'm like, this is going to be on his list.
Yep. Yeah, it was a toss-up between either this or another game I got called Troika, which I played with my son. And that's kind of like a new take on Gin Rummy.
Okay.
So, do you like Gin Rummy yourself?
I'm okay with it, yeah.
Yeah, then you might like Troika.
I haven't played it since I was a teenager, so
sure.
I know very little about it.
No, this is cool. I dig it. It's better than Gin Rummy, honestly. And that's saying as a Gin Rummy player. So, yeah. Anyway. that's my last one.
So you ready to move on to our 2021 goals?
Yeah, so let's talk about that. First off, I have this coin here. And I thought just to change it up a bit instead of just going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. For each one, do you want heads or tails?
I'll take tails.
Tails. Okay, so I'll flip it. That's who talks first.
Okay.
I think that's a fair way to do it, and then that way we can kind of zoom along. So
sounds good to me.
How did you rank your games? Like not games, but how did you rank your goals, and how did you come up with these goals?
They're not really in a particular order. I just when I came up with one, except for the last one. The last one is my cheaty one because I've already had this as a goal for another reason, which I'll explain for purpose while we're doing here in a little bit. But the rest of them is just okay. I need to do this. I need to do that. I want to do this. I want to do that. My number one though is pretty simple, and you'll see when we get there. But that's what I was going for. Is just no particular order, just things that I want to do for myself in this community partially.
Cool. Awesome. Yeah, the way I did mine is I did my top half goals that I've actually set for myself to do before the end of the year. And then the bottom half is either stuff that I would like to do or I'm going to do, but like there's things outside of my control, or for example like time constraints or different things like that.
Yeah.
Like if I can do it, it might not be within the year, and that I'll clarify each one as we go.
Yeah, and I'll get to what we're talking about here in a little bit. But ours, my goals for 2021 when it comes to board gaming isn't just about board games themselves.
Right.
Partly, it's also about the community itself, my placement in said community.
Cool. Awesome. Well, then I think that's what we're talking about. And of course, if you're watching us live, go ahead and post it in the chat what your goals are for the rest of the year.
We also want to make a caveat. We didn't put a post up on Board Game Revolution for this one for a couple reasons. One, these are such a personal goal. We don't want to be talking about other people's goals in a simple fact. And two, we just got busy.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. One of us forgot. Basically, is where it boils down to. All right. So Daniel, you ready?
I'm ready.
First one to talk. Tails.
That would be me. So this is the one I was talking about earlier, that this is my cheating one because I already put this in place January 1st, New Year's Day. And it goes along with the fact with this right here.
Yep.
And that's because I keep my board game stats on my phone. And so the goal that I placed for myself is, well, even last year with the pandemic, I had set a goal to play 50 new games to me last year, and I met it. So I increased it by 25 during the pandemic, which made it to 75. This year, my goal is to play 100 new to me games. I count solo plays, I'm counting plays that I hang out with my wife, or if I'm able to meet with friends and play. So far, I've already made 8, and we only just got through a month, so I'm making some progress. Doesn't help that we're really getting into Gloomhaven Jaws of the Lion, so that's really slowing down my stuff, but I'm really looking forward to trying to get this 100. I know a lot of people do a 10 by 10 where they're saying, hey, I want to play this game 10 times throughout the year.
Yeah.
10 games 10 times throughout the year. It's still 100 goals. For me, I know I'm going to get play some of my other games, and I'll talk about that a little bit later, but I also want to learn new games. I want to play new games. I want to go to the shop again and play new games.
Right.
Eventually, we'll be able to go to conventions. I don't know if it'll be this year, but I want to learn new games and see and find those ones that seem to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, that totally makes sense. That's a really good idea, too. It's a very good idea. I like that. 50 new... Or are you going 50 or 100?
I'm going 100 this time. I did 50 last year, ended up doing 75.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, you'll pull it off. I trust that you will. All right, my number 8 is I want to get back to gaming. I mean, it's just ominous. I want to start gaming more. I do truly believe that this year will get better. You know, I know, like, obviously the beginning of this year, it wasn't a fix or anything, but I do feel like we're on the right path now to eventually getting to the point where hopefully by the end of the year, we'll all be able to get together and have some game nights on a fairly regular basis.
And not just that, also that even though if we can't go full-blown, like 100% like we were,
sure,
at least being able to meet more than once every few months or something like that, to actually play games once a month, even playing, going to the shop again, even if it's going to be a smaller crowd other than what we used to do, it still would be nice just to game. I do miss that part of gaming.
Exactly. Like I want to get back to the shop and start demoing games and teaching people all of the new games that I've been learning, ready to go. I think there's a lot of new stuff that I found this last year.
Hmm.
Being home gave me time to research, so now I want to share
Yeah.
what I've learned with all the I just brought up 3 new games that you're like, I don't even know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I want to
And
share that with more.
all
So
right,
that's my
so
number 8. So
my next goal
let's see what
on my list here. Huh? Oh.
let's see. I'll go on the next one. All right. So my number 7 though is I want to play more Gloomhaven. That sounds simple. Like I started playing it with my son. Those of you who have watched the podcast before know that I taught my son how to play it. We got up to game 4, and he got bored, and we're done. So, and granted, we had like the kind of characters that didn't meld well at first. So, I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna find another reason to play, find
Mhm.
somebody who's willing, do a 2-player game only, like how we have been, and then probably try the other 2 characters that we didn't use. I feel like that
So,
makes the most sense.
who were you using?
I don't remember their names. If you tell me the 4 names, I will tell you which one. I know my son was Hatchet.
Hatchet is one.
Uh huh.
There's the Void Warden.
I was Void
There
Warden.
is
Yep.
there's the Demolitionist, and then there's the Red Guard.
I was Void Warden.
So I think the ones that have the best synergy is the Red Guard and the Void Warden together, and
Okay.
then Hatchet and the Quattro together.
Okay. Yeah, I can
Because
see
I
that.
have played around with them to see how they are. I'm just saying because the Red Guard tends to be the tankier one, the one that gets up close and personal. The Void Warden has this hang back. I
Yeah.
do like the Void Warden because it's like a puppet master.
Yeah.
So you can interact with your players and make them do other things. You can interact with the bad guys and make them do things. That's fun, but you need to put it with the right character.
Right. Exactly. And that with Hatchet just doesn't quite work because I sent my son in multiple times to go beat up everybody, and he's not a strong character.
Yeah.
Like, and so he would just get murdered, and I'm like, now I can't do anything hardly. I can move around a bit, but that's it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, you have to find the right synergy with your
Right.
characters and trying to play them. I think the Red Guard and the Void Warden work really well together.
Okay. I'll have to consider that. That's awesome.
All right, so my number 7 is a real simple one, and it's basically for this podcast itself. And I didn't do it today, and I should have. I just forgot because, like we were mentioning before we started, there was stuff going on here that I didn't think about it. But that's to interact more on social media. Try to grow our platform through social media with specifically the podcast Twitter. Communicate, talk on there. Try to, make an audience on there. Connect with audience and other board gamers. There's a slight interaction that we have with the people over at Tabletop Bellhop. They're really nice guys.
Mhm.
And just try to be a nice presence on the social media. Try to grow it through that as well. Interact with the crowd. I do have it on my phone now, so I can switch through my personal and the podcast one.
Cool. Awesome. Yeah, that's a good goal for both of us. You're way better at it than I am. But I couldn't agree more. So, yeah.
Well, I prefer Twitter over Facebook anyway, so this one's perfect for me.
Sure. That makes sense. All right, cool. Let's go into number 6. Heads. So, my number 6. Some of you guys may know I've shamelessly self-promoted before.
Yeah, last week.
Last week even. No, I mean like I have prototype stuff sitting around all the time, right? I'm a game designer, and I have a few games that I've talked about before on this podcast. My goal this year is to get at least one more of my games signed by a company. I don't know how I'm going to do it. It's a lot more of a different platform because, I'm trying to
It's like
promote
you
the
can't
games.
schedule meetings right now.
Yeah, you can't really
I
schedule
found most
meetings.
of it is through meetings, so
Uh
it's
huh.
weird.
Although, in a weird way, it's almost like easier to schedule games. But the thing is, a lot of companies are apprehensive, and understandably so, to sign more games because they don't know where the future is going to go. They don't know if they need to tone it back or if they need to, or if they're going to start ramping up again. So, 2020 delayed a lot of things, and so that's why if I can get another game signed, I'll be happy.
No, I get it. Yeah, 2020, and I can understand why companies are apprehensive just for that simple fact that you just don't know. Especially, I'm on a Kickstarter that has been waiting to get on a boat, and I don't even know if they got on the boat recently. to get here, and it's just because everything's bogged down at the moment.
Yep, that it is. Oh, well. So what's your number 6?
So my number 6 is, again, going back to the presence and being in the community, is be more welcoming when I'm interacting with the public again. So what I mean by that is be a better ambassador to the hobby. Try to play more games with strangers, per se, and get out of my comfort zone. For me personally, I like to play games with people I know. A lot of people do. But if I want to be welcome to the community, I want to bring in those new players, get them comfortable. Try not to be an alpha gamer or something like that. Just say, hey, if you want some advice, I can give you some advice. If not, let me explain how everything works and be better about it. Get them into the hobby, but don't try to push them away like some people I've seen and met. And like I said, just be helpful to new people in the hobby. I want to be able to make this community grow for the better. We've seen a lot of stuff going down in 2020, whether it's in the board gaming community or just life in general. And I want to be a more welcoming presence and an ambassador to the hobby.
I feel so selfish right now because of how, like, I didn't think this was going to be a moral stance, and now, well, me, let me tell you. No, that's awesome. I mean, I feel like I've done a decent. I'm going to defend myself here because I'm not saying that you're making shots at me because you're not.
I'm not saying that you're
No,
bad. I mean,
no.
bad.
I know you're not saying that, but I was like to reassure myself. It's like I feel like I've been a decent ambassador to the hobby. I've brought quite a few people.
You're very welcoming. You got a whole most of my friends that I hang out with today, whether on Zoom or hanging out to play board games in general. My gaming groups is all people I met because of you. When we go to the shop, we met a lot of people, and you made an interesting talk about this about last year. I want to say when we were just talking at one point, is that you find it interesting at the shop that you had people come in the beginning. They formed their own game group and left.
Yeah.
You had new people come in. They started their own game group and left. So you are welcoming. You're starting game groups in town.
Yeah, well, I've had it where people have been married through this game groups that I've created. Like, it's now at that point where Game Night created that. It's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm very proud of that fact. So I guess to add on to yours, I hope I can continue being an ambassador to the hobby. So we'll see. Number 5, ready?
Yep.
Tails. Go for it, sir.
Alright, so my number 5 here is to learn to judge less. And I'm specifically talking about games. And the reason is, there's games I don't like. I don't like social deduction games. And then I played Deception Murder in Hong Kong. That's still the only one I've really enjoyed. But I want to be able to be more open-minded towards games, even if it's something I know I probably won't like, but I have to be willing to try.
Right.
I have to try new things because you just never know. You might find that one exception to the rule. I used to not be a huge fan of dexterity games. Now I love them because I see them as just great, fun, simple party games in a sense. Big thing is I didn't really like a lot of party games, and then I started playing stuff like Wits and Wagers and Just One and Concept even. I'm not a huge fan of that one, but I did enjoy it. But yeah, no. So I got to be more open-minded to games and try, or even for when it comes to game designers. Now, there may be a few game designers I'm like, nope, not touching that. But I have to be more open-minded and play new things, branch out, try new things.
Yeah. Agreed. I'm not implying anything. No, I'm just kidding. That's a really good one.
I didn't say prototypes. I said actual games.
Oh, okay. There it was. Now I felt it. All right. Now going on to a more less egocentric topic. Let's talk about my games. My number 5. So, Daniel, you know of this. I'm not going to say too much information because I just don't have the ability to say too much information, but I do have a game that has been worked on that was picked up by a publisher. The goal is I hope it comes out this year. It is at the point where it's pretty much developed. We're talking art, we're doing all this stuff. I don't want to give any more details. I won't even tell the publisher, no nothing. But I am waiting for the day that hopefully...
I do have to ask. just for me personally, and I'm not going to give too much information. Is it the little one or the big one?
Little one. Yeah.
Okay.
So yes, little one. Because that one has been in the works, and hopefully, 2020 happened and it made it a pain and just couldn't do it.
Yeah, no.
I'm hoping that it hits shelves this year. That's a
Ah,
personal
okay.
goal. If it does, I'm going to be incredibly enthusiastic, and I can't wait to promote it. And you guys on here will be hearing it. I'm sure we're going to probably invite the company on, and
Yeah.
talk for a while. So yeah, awesome people.
I also have to say, I've play tested the one
Yes.
that you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
It's fun.
Yeah.
I'll buy it to support you. I don't know how often I will play it because I've been playing that game for a long
You've been playing it for a lot of years. Yeah, you have. You've known it longer than most people. And so, but yeah, I mean, I can't wait to tell more about it. That's really going to be my goal this year.
Yeah.
So that was my number 5.
All right, we're moving on to
Numero 4. All right, Tails.
So, this one is a goal that I've had before. And this is one I want to stay consistent with. And that's buying less games that others in my gaming group own. This is something that I've been somewhat consistent with. But like I said, there's always going to be exceptions to the rules. There's a game that I know, hey, my wife will play, but she doesn't normally play with my game group. Or, hey, I know these people would play it, but they don't normally play with our game group. So that's what I'm doing. It's a rule, like I said, that I have, but I'm trying to be more consistent with, and that's including, and I'll talk about it later, Kickstarters. And especially games I know that my wife wouldn't enjoy. So if you bought that game, I don't know if I should buy it. I know I'll get to play it because you have a copy, or there's 2 copies in our game group between you and a mutual friend, namely Dom. We've mentioned him before, mainly Dom.
Right.
So I know I'll get to play it.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if I necessarily need to have it for myself. Again, there's exceptions to the rules. Feld being one of them. I want to collect the Feld games. That's just a personal goal for myself. I don't know when I'm going to get them all, but it's just going to happen. And so my rule is, my number 4, is to buy less games that I know other copies are in my game group.
That makes sense. I like that. Very good. My number 4 is a very simple rule, and it sounds incredibly simple at first, but it's trickier than it seems. And I want to clean this game room. And that sounds silly. I just bought, so these white shelves behind me, these are like $20 Walmart shelves. They're like the plastic tube, PVC tube, they only go 4 shelves high. All of my shelves in here are 5 shelves high. And that's because for every 3 shelves, if you buy a 4th shelf, you add another level.
Mm-hmm.
It's to that point where just last weekend, not this previous one, but the one prior to that, I bought 3 new shelves. No, I bought 2 new shelves. And that gave me 3 total shelves that did not have a 5th layer. So I had to buy another one this weekend just to add a 5th layer. So I'm going to be doing that probably either today or tomorrow, actually. And I want to organize them better by category. I want to have them cataloged where you could be like, okay, well, let's play Karuba. Boom, right there. And I'm going to know where it is. I had that mostly pretty well, but it's now getting to the brim. And, thank goodness you can't see this table that's around me. But, yeah, it's kind of messy. It's also where I keep my 3D printer. So I want to organize the room, get it better, get it more comfortable to be in, and a better place for the games that store them. So
I have a question for you when it comes to that. Are you going to get different shelves, to allow you to better streamline everything, or are you going to stick with the ones you have now?
Maybe. I actually found I hopped on another person's Twitch account or Twitch. I didn't hop on their account. I went to their video. I saw them organizing their game room, and the way that they had their shelves, it looked almost like these plastic ones, but I thought it was really interesting. They were offset, and they used the same pole. So what I mean by that is, imagine cutting these in half, and then having one layer, then one layer, one layer, one layer, one layer, and having it go zigzag, and then doing that. I think that would be really neat. I don't know how structurally sound it is, but it sounds like that would be an easy project.
I'm looking at one of them right now, and the Gloomhaven shelf, and man, that one is bowing.
Oh yeah, no, and that's I'll see if I can get it in the shot. I'm gonna try, but this party shelf over here, it has some
Yeah,
party
yeah,
games.
yeah.
Yep, it had party games on it, and it has like a bunch of other games. But oh yeah, that's questionable right now. And
Well, that's what I was saying. Is like these shelves are nice, but there's a reason why they're $20. They're not supposed to hold that much weight. That's why
no,
I was
not at
asking.
all. Yeah, that and so that's maybe I might do that. That would make sense. But actually, that would also thin these out. If you see the space between these two shelves, there would only be one pole for the entire thing,
Well,
and it'd
yeah.
be going back and forth.
Well,
So
the reason why I asked or was saying is because those metal shelves that I use, they're not cheap, but they hold massive amount of weight.
yeah, but I like storing mine sideways too, and that I wouldn't be able to do that with the metal shelves as easily because it wouldn't hold it as well. Like some of the thinner
Mm.
games, it would just be weird. And then if I make
You
them
can
as
always
tall
go
as yours,
nuts and get those calyxes, but you probably need like 40 or 50 of them.
I'm afraid to know how many calyxes it would be to fill the walls in this room.
Because what people don't know, we've talked about it before. It's not just the games that are behind you, which is a whole wall.
Right,
There's games on the other two walls on the
right.
side of you, and games all in front of you as
Yes,
well.
there is. I built it in a way where, if you know the clear shoe containers,
Yeah.
the you hang up on the wall or on a doorway, I have four of those behind my door. So when my door is open to the game room, 100 games are hidden behind it, and that's the ones that aren't visible. So like
And
small
those are
card
the
games.
little card
Those are the
games.
small card games, so you have the whole room around it.
Yeah.
I haven't done a count recently, but I've gotten a lot of new games too this past year, so I just want to reorganize it. I want to make it look really neat. I really like that idea of offsetting all those, and I have a nice table saw that I can jump those in half. So we'll see. I mean, it's definitely within the right idea, I think. So I'm gonna
I
play
don't
with
blame
that.
you.
Yeah, maybe I'll just do it on this side and hope it works. Wish me luck.
Alrighty, cleaning your game room.
Cleaning my game room. That's my number 4.
I think I went first on 4, so it's another.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Cool. And our number 3, you go first again.
So my number 3 is playing more of the games that I have on my shelves, and it's not just talking about like my shelf of shame, tongue twister there, but it's all the other games on there. I want to try to get more of the games off of there, and it's been harder lately because of the pandemic and
Mm-hmm.
not being able to get to my game group and stuff like that. But there's been games sitting on my shelves that have been there for years that I haven't just pulled down and played because we're always trying to get things off our shelf of shame. And it goes along with the whole buying games that I don't need to buy and stuff like that. But I want to play more of what I already own. 2 reasons. One, to see if I still really, really like it, or 2, I need to call it. And so it's something I need to do. There's certain games I can't call because of familial stuff, but it's something I need to do to play more of the games on my shelf to realize if I still really, really like them. Because there's games that I've had since the start of the thing that I've gotten
Mm-hmm.
rid of, and I need to see if these need to stay as well. Because I have a limited amount of
Yeah.
shelf space, so I need to see what can come in and what needs to go out. And so that's my number 3 goal is to play what I own.
Cool. I like that. My number 3 is also another self-serving, but less so. I mean, it's mainly just being productive, and so what I mean by that is, so I make a lot of like smaller games. I make a lot of like side things that I don't plan on selling to publishers, or I just want to make a copy of. As a good example, I made a party game, and a friend of mine came over the other day, and he tested it, and it only really works with 3 players. But I was like, good, let's just try this idea, and that was the corporate jargon game, and I had him like reeling laughing, like he was laughing hard because of it. It was super fun, satisfying, and just a couple weeks ago, I was dropping off some punch board for a friend of mine, and she had play tested a game a number of years ago, or a year, yeah, about a year ago, and she play tested a game that I came up with, and she told me, she was like, "Hey, if that thing's available for sale, like you tell me, I'll buy it." I'm like, "Cool, I'm pretty sure it is. Let me go look." And I haven't written the rule book for it yet. So my main goal is all of the games, like the little side project games I've been working on, either permanently shelve or publish them, get them ready for self-publish to be available. So that way I can check off the box and go to the next designs that I want to make on. So I have like short lists of probably about 10 to 12 games that I'm just like I just want to release to put on the website, self-publish, go buy them if you want. If not, no biggie. They're fun games, but that way they're another check in the to-do list. So that's my number 3 is publish my remaining project games.
Sounds good.
Yeah. All right. Number
Coin
2.
flip time.
Coin flip. I'll go. So this one I am very excited about. I'm actually swapping my 1 and 2. For the very first time ever, you talked briefly about a 10 by 10 earlier.
Mm-hmm.
My wife has finally made a 10 by 10. And it's not due to me asking. Like, I told her what a 10 by 10 was. I was like, yeah, maybe I should make one this year. She was like, what is that? I'm like, oh, well, you choose 10 games that you want to play, and you play each one 10 times so you can justify having them. And she was like, oh, that sounds fun. I was like, wait, hold on. Because she doesn't play games like most. Like,
Yeah.
like a lot of people do. But she does have some that she likes. And she was like, oh, that sounds fun. I like that idea. I was like, okay. Interesting. She was like, I'll do that with you if I can pick the games. I'm like, yes, please. So she picked 10 games that we both like, and we've probably played about 5 or 6 of them so far this year. Now, granted, it's not quite enough, and they've been mainly the small ones, but yeah, we introduced Can't Stop to her parents, and they liked that one a lot.
Nice.
I 3D printed a little samurai guy for Age of War, that was really fun. So, yeah, this has just been a really exciting way to spend time with my wife and my family and play the games that are on her list. And in a way that she enjoys, too. So, it's very personal to me. The new 10 by 10.
And, honestly, that's not a bad goal because you're going to be able to spend time with your wife doing something that you both enjoy. There's nothing wrong with it. I've been, since Christmas, really enjoying playing Gloomhaven with my significant other. It's been amazing.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I understand where that's an exciting goal for you.
Thank you. I think so too. And my wife does to a degree.
Well, yeah, I mean, she has to spend time with you, so.
That's true. That's true. Yesterday, I'm going on a tangent real quick. Yesterday we were driving around and we were having like a normal little couple argument, like picking on each other. And I was like, so what? We just finished. Like we had to go to the store real quick. I was like, so what do you want to do now? She was like, I don't know. It's like, well, do you want to go do something? You want to get go shopping or something? I don't know. Well, do you want to go do this? I don't know. How about we go home and play prototypes? No. It's like, well, finally an answer. I knew where that was going, but now I got a yes or no finally.
Well, I don't blame her on that. So
yeah, I had to find where the line was drawn. And clearly I already knew that, but that was the answer.
All right. So my number 2 is one of my more important ones, and I've already done this twice this year. So, but I'll explain what's going on, and that is, and I mentioned it earlier, limiting my Kickstarter. Don't back as many games on Kickstarter. And I'm not very prolific on it, but I have backed quite a few games.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just need to be more, I forget the word, but picky about what I'm backing. The 2 that I backed is one, a very popular board gaming company, Dice Tower. Mm-hmm. I backed that one. I always do. And 2, the other one I backed was it's called a game called Core Quest, which I find an amazing story out of that one. So I was like, you know what? It's not overly expensive. Let me back it, buy a copy. I might not keep that copy. I may give it to a friend who has younger kids, but we'll see what happens. But I just wanted to make sure I back those 2. But I don't know if I'm going to back many more.
Right.
There's a couple, my big ones were all last year. So I don't know if I know there's one big one, the Feld one, coming out later this year that I'm possibly going to be doing. But other than that, I don't know if there's anything. There's a few that I'm kind of looking at, like the Shem Phillips, Garphill Games ones.
Yeah.
Maybe. We'll see. But again, those 2. not wanting to back things I know other people are going to be backing.
Yeah.
And like I was saying the earlier role, only going back to those that I truly want. So my Frosthaven and my Role Player Adventures were back last year. So those are the two big ones that I wanted. I don't know, other than the Filled one, if there's other big ones that I want to get. Again, goes with the one I was talking about, buying less games for our game group. There's going to be exceptions to the rule.
Yeah.
You're probably going to be on the Filled one. I'm probably going to be on the Filled one. But again, it's going along the lines that I want to collect the Filled games, and a lot of the games that are coming out of the series, this line that Queen Games is doing, is games that are being reprinted. The first two was Bruges and I forget what the other one was.
Hamburg. Oh, I don't know what the other one is. Yeah, Hamburg and Amsterdam are the new ones. It's Bruges and...
It's not the Rialto one, because that's the New York one, right?
No, it's none of the ones that from Tasty Minstrel here in America. It's another one from, I think, Pegasus Spiel.
Well, no, I know the New York City one that's going to come in the newer Kickstarter this year. Yeah. That's going to be Rialto's reprint.
Oh, okay.
And then the other game with it is going to be one of his newer games. So there's that.
Gotcha. Okay.
And again, I want to avoid getting into those ones that are like the money stuffs, the Simons that our mutual friend backed the Bloodborne one.
Yeah. And
it had like and he didn't even get the whole thing. He just got a few stuff. I've seen like some of the Kickstarters where it's taller than a 3-year-old. so it's like, don't need to really get into it, especially when it's costing $400, $500.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's my goal, is to limit myself on Kickstarters.
I got hit really hard this last year for Kickstarter because of the combination of, you can't see it off camera, but Dice Throne and the Stefan Feld games. Yeah, they were intense, but worth it. But I mean,
yeah. But again, if there's four of us the main four of us in our game group, if two of you are buying, do I really need to buy one of them or buy it as well? Yeah. And that's what I go back. So like when it comes to the Simon games, I know two of our friends, Dom being one, our mutual friend that we talked about before, Bryce might be another one who backs it. Do I really need to get into it? And that's what I did with Ankh last year. And I just want to keep doing that, is limiting unless it's something I really want.
Yeah, that makes sense. Cool. Good choice for number 2. And heads. I'll go first on this last one. And this has been a project that I have been working on for at least 32 days so far. And I have done it so far, and I plan on continuing it. I want to play at least one board game every day this year. And not so much to force myself to play games that I don't have. I'm playing games, I'm replaying games, I'm playing simple, quick games. I'm playing games on apps, It's not so much to lower the shelf of shame or anything. I just want to have a year full of playing games. Mainly to see, one, if and or how much I'm going to get tired of it. And two, to see which games of mine hold up on the test of time, So there have been days where I'd be like, oh wow, I have 10 minutes left in the day. Let me play Onirim real quick, and I kind of forced myself to play, or there have been ones where I'm curious to see what this does if I'm still excited to have game days, or if I'm still going to be enticed to like go to like a convention or something. Like, I wonder if this is going to burn me out a little bit on purpose. And so I think this is a thought-provoking experiment on myself that I'm willing to do, where so far every day this year, all of January, I've played at least one board game. Guaranteed. And most of which is, I'm lucky because I have my kids with me, and if they're grounded, they have nothing else to do. But more so, I wanted to do this to kind of like force myself to hang out with my kids. Not force myself, but like, in a way,
force your kids to hang out with you.
Force my kids to hang out with me. That's a much more family-friendly tone. Exactly. No, I wanted to spend more time with the family, and this is a darn good excuse. So yeah. And in a byproduct is I clean off the shelf of shame. I gestured over here. I have an entire shelf that needs to be cleaned off, and so this gives me a good incentive. But then on top of it, I get to like try other simple little games like with my kids, like House of Boing. I probably never would have bought that before, but I saw it on discount. I'm like, okay, let's try it. And then that counts as my game for the day. And bouncing ping pong balls and being silly. Super worth it. So, wish me luck. I have 11 more months left. We'll see. Let's see if I do it. If we
Yeah, let's
revisit
see.
this next year,
Well, at
let's
least
see.
you chose to do it not on a leap year, so you wouldn't have that extra day.
Oh man, that would have been the deal breaker, right? That one extra day, I'll be like, oh, I forgot this day was here. I didn't even plan for it. Now I'm quitting gaming forever. No,
All
I've
right.
enjoyed it. It's interesting.
It's an interesting thing to do. I don't know if I could do it. I like solo gaming, but I don't know if I could solo game by myself
And see,
300
yeah,
I'll say 20 days a year because I might get my wife to play, or I could get with our gaming group. But
yeah,
other than that, I don't know if I could do that.
yeah. Honestly, as of the end of month one, because today's the 1st of February. As of the end of month one, I don't encourage this for people. Like as much as I love games, and I do clearly, I don't encourage this unless you have like a family who's also like super into games like myself, and even my family's not that. Like
Yeah.
there are days where I force myself to play a game because I want to keep this going. Um, I had a panic attack like a week ago when I looked at my Board Game Geek thing and I saw a day that didn't have a game played on it. I was like, wait, no, I know I haven't done that yet. Hold on. And I had to like go through and remember what game I just forgot to log. I got so scared. I was like, oh no. Oh, did I fail already? It's only been 3 weeks. Oh god. No, but no, we're good. We were good. I made sure of it. We're good. All right.
All right.
And what's your number one?
So I guess I'm the last one. So my number one involves you. And that is making this podcast even better and help its growth. That includes buying better equipment that we need to get the sound balanced a little bit better, figure out ways to get it properly done, make our audio podcast that much better, learn to video edit better, actually use proper editing software. Again, as I was saying, get the sound crisper and cleaner is what I put down here. But just making it overall better, interact more, network at conventions, whenever that's going to be possible. Again, going back to what I was talking about, being a better ambassador to the community. I want this podcast to grow. I don't need to be big. We don't need to be like fancy like some other podcasts. But I would really like to have a little bit of a following. This way we can talk and interact with the community and just have a good time. I mean, we've gotten to interview some of the biggest board game designers, and we're a small podcast.
Yeah.
And I just want it to grow and make it better. I want to be more consistent. We're going to try. Again, family things happen. We have to take a break. Everybody should know that, and I understand sometimes it's frustrating when you're looking forward to something and it's not going on, but things happen. Family happens. We're going to try to be more consistent, but I do want to make this podcast better, and that's including soundproofing this room a little bit better. As you can see, I got board game boxes, expansion boxes on my wall now. That helps a little bit. Get some soundproofing, get better equipment. That's what I want to do.
Wow. I like that. Can you believe that we each picked 8 and there was no crossovers?
Yeah.
We each picked 8 gaming goals this year, and there were 0 crossovers. Wow.
I'm intrigued by that. It's interesting.
Yeah.
One is kind of close. You're playing 365 games a year. I want to play 100 new to me games.
Yeah.
So...
And then like Gloomhaven, we're both technically have Gloomhaven on our list, but like, yeah.
No, it's not technically on my list because it's not new to me.
Right.
But I've been enjoying playing it.
Yeah. No, this is interesting. I find this this was an interesting topic for us to discuss, and we're really curious to see what anybody else says. So if you listen to this podcast, no matter how late you listen to it or watch the video, give us a comment. Tell us what your goals for this year, and hopefully this gave you some ideas. It doesn't have to be 2021.
If you watch this in a year from now, tell us what your goal that current year is.
Yeah.
We'll probably revisit this specific podcast at the end of the year, see if we've met these goals or whatnot, and probably next year, our first podcast of the year would actually be what our goals are for 2022. So
yeah, definitely. No, I couldn't agree more. And hopefully, even if you didn't have any goals, hopefully this gives you an idea of some ideas. Whether it's content creation, playing more with the family, setting like a specific goal, like a 100 new to me or a 10 by 10.
And
This is
I
interesting.
have to say about our two lists, I like the fact that yours were about, personal gaming goals, playing games and stuff like that. Mine was more about being better in the community because you already have that community outreach that you have. I
Sure.
want to be able to be that way as well and have that community outreach. Like going to conventions and teaching off your demos and stuff like that we have done in the past.
Hmm.
That's always been fun to me. And so I wouldn't mind being more of that outgoing person. Like one of my fondest memories was when we went to the one close to us
Yes.
down the way, and
Hmm.
there was people who were struggling learning dice board, and I just was like, hey, do you guys need help? I can teach you how to do this and you'll get you going.
Yeah.
Taught them how to do it and left the table, and you could just hear them having a blast with how that game is working. But
Yeah.
sometimes a game is a chore, especially if you're just trying to learn it from a game book.
Yeah.
So I try to be better about teaching them.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you and I have years of experience reading rule books and watching Rodney Smith teach us how to play the games that we teach others, blatantly ripping him off. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
No, but like we have years of learning these games. We're comfortable with it now. But I remember back in the day when I was scared to buy Dominion because I was like, first off, this is a $45 game of just cards. This seems really complicated. And that's coming from somebody who played Magic the Gathering consistently. Going into a new system, that's a whole new thing. And that's intimidating. When I bought Ticket to Ride, I was scared because that was a $50 board game. And never
Yeah,
in
and
my life had I spent that much on a board game.
what's interesting about that to me is when I first got into this thing, and you were talking about board games and the
Hmm.
price, and me and the wife would look at a board game and be like, "Oh, that's $60. Oh my god!" But we would have no problem spending $60 for a video game.
No, yeah, exactly. Exactly, and I wouldn't so when before this, one of my major hobbies was collecting playing cards and doing magic. Like I was a magician for a number of
Mm-hmm.
years. I still do some magic, but I don't try to actively do it professionally. But if I spent like $200 on a prop, that's a thing. That's a thing
Yeah,
that I would, and then I was still like, oh well, will I even use this in a show? I don't know, but it's really cool, and therefore I want it. That was harder to justify something that I've spent countless hours with the family and friends doing, and then
yeah,
but going back to that, as part of the community though, spreading that love to friends and family and teaching people the new games, it's such a gratifying thing, and I don't blame you for wanting to do more of it because I've had a personal high for like 8 years doing this, so I am more than happy helping you
Well, I
helping
like the
you
fact that
do more.
you could personally go, I got him into the hobby, I got him into the hobby, now he's addicted, this guy over there is addicted, that
Yeah,
whole family over there.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Like that whole family. I love going to like visit people like back before I or when I could, like it justified. I know I have a lot of games, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I know I can go to your house and see your shelf and go, that's because of me. And now I feel better about it because I know, like, sure, I have like 900 games or something. I don't know, however many I have, but there are other people with the same problem here in town, even. And this isn't even a huge town. So, anyway, those are my 3 cents on it. I like to, I can't wait to show you more games to teach more people. And yeah, and I promise you, Daniel, to help you out, I will make more games so you can do more demos of the.
I personally enjoyed teaching already good games,
Yeah.
so
Granted, your example was like, man, it was so great to take a break from demoing your games to teach somebody Dice Forge.
hey, in my defense, I sold some of your games for you, all
You
right?
did,
So
you did. And that's, despite anybody who's watching this who doesn't know us, like, you give me a lot of hell for my games, but really, you enjoy them quite a bit, but you would never admit it because then
nope,
that would go against the
nope.
joke. Anyway, we need to end this. This podcast has gone on far too long, but this has been good fun. If you ever want to watch one of these podcasts live, you can always do so. Join us at twitch.tv/everydayboardgames.
And as always, the video re-uploads can be found on YouTube at Everyday Board Games Podcast. You can search for it. If you do find us on there, give us a like and a subscribe.
And we love hearing from our viewers. So if you ever want to contact us directly, just say hi, or even give us ideas for future episodes, or weigh on your opinion on previous episodes. By all means do so. Send us an email at everydayboardgames2020@gmail.com.
And as always, the audio versions of these podcasts can be found on most podcast platforms under Everyday Board Game Podcast. This includes Spotify, Google, Amazon Music, and Podbean. And as I mentioned the last one, we are working on iTunes, and they're being annoying, so we'll get back to you on that one. And you can always find us on Twitter at EBG Podcast.
So as always, we want to thank you for listening to our podcast. I've been Daniel.
And I've been Daniel.
And we want to thank you for listening to Everyday Board Games.
Have a good one.